important to individuals who hope to lead a life of purpose, they are essential for the ability of a democratic nation to defend its cherished freedoms. Far from being enemies, freedom and identity are staunch allies in the struggle against evil. That is the main message of defending identity, the message that I believe is important for every individual, every group, and every nation in the free world. Over time, I have come to understand that the notion of identity and democracy as allies is so obvious to me because I had an experience long ago that left an indelible mark on my view of freedom, my view of identity, and my view of the connection between them. In the books I have written, I have drawn deeply on the experiences of my years in prison. I have done so not because I am under any illusion that the unique circumstances of prison life are easily transferable to the outside world, but rather because I believe that those years in the Gulag afforded me a once-in-a-lifetime laboratory to discover first principles that put a bright spotlight on challenges and confusions that face the world. The lessons of the Gulag are stark, but also very clear. My years in the Gulag convinced me of this powerful alliance between freedom and identity. This is not to say that I never feel any tension between them, only that I recognized long ago that freedom and identity stand on the same side of a great moral divide, and nothing I have seen or experienced since has convinced me otherwise. In fact, in all my adult life, I have doubted this truth for only a single day, and that was many, many years ago, in February 1977. For dissidents in the Soviet Union during the 1960s and 1970s, telephone conversations with their comrades in arms abroad were like the light of a lamp on a dark street. It was a joyful reminder that despite all the efforts of the KGB, we were not alone. For me, the unofficial spokesman of two movements, the Jewish immigration movement and the movement for human rights, an important part of my activities took place on the telephone. Speaking very quickly before being disconnected, I dictated appeals from Jewish activists demanding freedom of immigration, or Andrei Sakharov's appeals to the President of the United States to press the Soviet regime to release prisoners of conscience. As words from our dissident underground moved to the international stage, I could feel them gaining strength, amplifying the voices of their authors as they traveled across the oceans. And as information trickled back about what was happening in the world's parliaments from friends who had been fighting with us and who were determined to continue our common struggle, we felt that nothing could stop us. The KGB understood the importance of controlling the lines of communication. That is why there was no direct dialing abroad. Telephone conversations were often jammed, and those telephones that were suspected of being frequently used for illegal calls were often simply disconnected. But with inventiveness and stubbornness, we would restore our connections, informing our contacts in advance, often through tourists, about where and when and under what name we would be waiting for the next call. And each telephone call brought one more injection of encouragement, energy, and enthusiasm. Especially precious to me were conversations with my wife Avital, from whom I had been separated since the day after our marriage. She never abandoned the struggle for our reunion, not even for a single day. But our telephone conversation in the middle of February 1977 was exceptional. After it, I felt like a balloon from which the air had been taken out. It was a difficult time for all the dissidents of the Soviet Union. The Helsinki group, created in April 1976, had been publishing dozens of documents about the Soviet Union's failure to fulfill its obligations on human rights under the Helsinki Accords. This had attracted the attention of the entire world. And, exactly as the founders of the group expected, at the beginning of February, the repression started. Two leaders of the group, Yuri Orlov and Alexander Ginsburg, were arrested. A third central figure,